If you have breath in your lungs, say, I'm going to praise him. If the blood is moving through your body, say amen. You got another day, yet another chance to tell people about Jesus. Or more importantly, since you're here on this safe, beautiful campus, learn more about him. Amen. All right, we're going to introduce a couple of very special people to us. How many people are having a good time at TYMI? Word. I want to introduce you to the man that says yes to almost everything we ask for. He has been the Territorial Youth Secretary. He is our Territorial Program Secretary. And unlike any other, give it up for Colonel Eddie Hobgood. Right there. Honestly, he says yes to everything as long as it points to Jesus, and I love that about him. Now, we are also in the great states of Kentucky and Tennessee. And we have been hosted and supported very well. But these two states, this one division, has new divisional leaders. One of them is here this morning. She's our preacher for Sunday. Give it up for Ann Penhale. Somewhere. Where are you at? Listen, do me a favor. This is a real deal. This is a responsibility that you have as a member, as a delegate of this institute. Pray for Ann. Pray for Ann that God would give her the words for you to hear on Sunday morning. Can you do that? Say amen. Where's Mojo or Sojo? Where are you at? Sorry. It's Mornings with Joe. I said, where's Mojo? So, Joe Giovanni Smith, get it up here. DJ.
All right. If I talk to you on Wednesday, come up. I did not, I did talk to everybody, but I specifically talked to these people. Where? No, not yet. Okay, I need Jason Collier, Matt Broom, Nick Simmons-Smith, and Nathan Cole. Jason Collier, Matt Broom, Nick Simmons-Smith, and Nathan Cole. All right, while they're coming up, go to each aisle, okay? So I need you to go, Richie, go over here. Come on to the aisle. Yep, just quickly go on over. Yep. All right. So, welcome, DMDs. Welcome. We are going to do a Nick, we're going to do a reversal, okay? So we taught the kids about music. We want to talk to you guys about Pop Culture 101. Come on, Lord. Yes, okay? So, pop culture, it's okay. Now, you guys are going to utilize the youth, okay? You guys are going to utilize the youth. So you got to run to back up. Go ahead and back all the way up. Yep. Back up. Yep. You got to utilize one of the young people, okay? Yep, you go right there. You got to utilize one of the young people. You won't know the answer. Trust. You got to utilize the young people, okay? Same thing. Make sure, please do not trip. I know some of you all do not have closed-toe shoes. We do not have insurance for you all. Okay, come right here. Now, I'm going to read the question on the screen. When I say go, good job. When I say go, you're going to pat twice, rub your... you guys got it? Yes. Pat your head twice, rub your stomach twice, turn around and run to your individual, okay? Are y'all ready? Let's put the first question. First question. Name the children of Kim and Kanye West from youngest to oldest. Go. Y'all cheating. No, go back to, no. Go back. Don't give them the answer. Come back. Oh, he did it? Okay. Let's do this again. Come back. Y'all got a little too excited. Come back. Remember, pat on your head. Rub your stomach. Okay. With the same head. No. Pat. Rub. Turn. Yes? All right. Name the children of Kim and Kanye West from youngest to oldest. Go. Youngest to oldest. Go. Youngest to oldest. What are you doing? Go get your people. You have to. Oh, he already knows. Okay.
Saint and North.
From youngest to oldest.
Chicago, St. and North.
From youngest to oldest.
North, South. Northwest, Northeast, Southeast, West.
Wow. From youngest to oldest.
Chicago. Some.
Keep going.
Northwest. I don't know. That's all as far as we got.
Okay. Let's see the answer. It is some, Chicago, St. and North. Look at God. Are y'all ready? I mean, Matt said, why does anybody want to know that? Trust me, half of the room wants to know that. Okay, y'all ready? Let's go. What team did Kawhi Leonard, Kyrie Irving, and Anthony Davis just sign to? What team did Kawhi Leonard, Kyrie Irving, and Anthony Davis just sign to? All right, Nathan.
Brooklyn West.
Brooklyn West? No.
Nets, Lakers, Clippers.
Okay.
Nets, Knickers.
Sir, let's see if Matt got it. Yep. Here we go. Texas got the one. Texas got one win. All right, let's start it again. We got a third one. Who coined the phrase, oh, and who is she married to? Go ahead. Who coined the phrase, oh, and who is she married to?
Courtney Horsack.
Who?
Carter B.
And who is she married to?
Yeah.
You-
Husband. Mrs. B.
No.
Cardi B, Offset.
Yes, Carter B and Offset. What? Oh, Nathan,
English accent.
I'm sorry, it was your accent. I'm so sorry. We'll give you a point. North and South Carolina a point, Texas a point. All right, here we go. How many seasons of The Office are there? How many seasons of The Office are there? How many seasons of The Office are there? How many? What is happening?
12.
12.
9.
Look.
What you don't know is The Office is a UK series that started with 2 series. 9.
No, okay. How many? There is 9. Jason had it first. All right. Here we go. We got one more question. Who sings this in what album? Ooh, I just want to have a good time. Oh, y'all just going, okay. Okay.
Beyonce.
And what album?
Beyonce.
Okay.
People know album names?
Nick?
Beyonce.
And what album?
Her Greatest Hits.
Okay. All right. What's the answer? It's Beyonce Homecoming. Do we have one more question or no? We do not. I'm going to have my people throw out some shirts. We got shirts. We got Frisbees. Make sure you guys stand up. We got shirts. We got Frisbees. We got shirts. We got Frisbees. Raise your hand like you don't care. Come on, little Jesus.
All right. Jeremiah Durham, come on up here. It's just crazy. How do we do this? Sit down. Chris Reeder, don't kill anybody. Vontae got shirts. What's going on? Is this about the right height? It's okay. We have no time. We're good. No, we need to, yes? All right, this just in. One of the greatest things that I have witnessed over 30 years in this territory is the opportunity for young people to create and share. And several years ago, I believe it was in Denton, North Carolina, at Camp Walter Johnson, at the Territorial Youth Institutes, we started a spoken word elective, and that has been one of the most creative outlets that I've experienced for people that enjoy writing and sharing. They don't, in fact, a lot of people don't actually enjoy sharing. But the writing part of it is really cool. So would you give it up for one of our representatives from the spoken word elective at TYI? This is Jeremiah Durham. We'll need to appropriately respond when he's done.
All right. This piece is called Dear Father. Dear Father, I hope this letter finds you well. I stood on the edge of a cliff today, and I almost jumped twice. I could hear your voice telling me to be careful, just like when I was a kid and I fell out of that tree. You see, I wish I had listened to your warnings. Dear Mother, I stood on the edge of a cliff today. I wish I could let you know how good of a job you've done raising me. So don't blame yourself for what I've done. Dear brother, I stood on the edge of a cliff today. I wish I could express how much you mean to me, how many laughs we've shared, how many burgers we've devoured, but hour by hour I forget who you are to me. Dear sister, I stood on the edge of a cliff today. I wish I could protect you, but I couldn't even protect myself. Dear stranger, I stood on the edge of a cliff today. Of course, you know that, because you were there. I wish I could see you. I wish I could meet you. I wish I could thank you. Thank you for what you did. Thank you for what you said. But I can't, because you're gone. You walked away. Dear Father, I stood on the edge of a cliff today, and you saved me. You whispered, and I listened. Sincerely, me.
Thanks, Jeremiah. It was awesome. Hey, let's get on our feet. Let's worship.
One bow down and we worship you, Lord. We bow down. Hey! We worship you, Lord. Lord of all lords. You will be, 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 you will be. Out of the grave, break into the wild, and don't be afraid. Come on. Run into wide open spaces, graces waiting for you. Dance like the weight has been lifted, graces waiting. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom, there is freedom. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom, there is freedom. Come out of the dark, just as you are, into the fullness of His love. For the Spirit is here, let there be freedom, let there be freedom. Bring all of the burdens, bring all of the scars. Come back to communion, come back to the start. Run into wide open spaces, graces waiting for you. Dance like the weight has been lifted, graces waiting. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom, there is freedom. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom, there is freedom. Come out of the dark, just as you are, into the fullness of His love. For the Spirit is here, let there be freedom, let there be freedom. Prison shake at the sound of Jesus' name. Do you believe it? Lives made whole, hearts awake at the sound of Jesus' name. Come on! Chains will fall, prison shake at the sound of Jesus' name. Lives made whole, hearts awake at the sound of Jesus' name. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom, there is freedom. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom, there is freedom. Have a seat, guys.
Y'all like that? Check one, check two. How y'all feeling this morning? Y'all really like that song. Y'all really, really like that song. I got called out again by some other territories, and I feel like I need to make good about it. Okay, we got NCV, where you at in the place? "2005, seen it with my eyes, NCV, still alive." Were y'all about to die? Just joking, just wanted to call it, okay. And then we got NSC, where you at, NSC in the place? Listen, it's been an incredible last, 5 days, getting a chance to hang out with you guys. Just 2 more days left, and I can't stress how much an impact y'all have had. What am I missing? I missed somebody else. KT? Okay, that's good. Let's make good. Is there anybody else? Georgia? There we go. Anyone else? What is it? MWV, where you at? Who? Florida. Sit down. Nobody yelled when I said Florida. Not one person, just you. Florida, where you at? Okay. Sorry. They didn't have your back the first time. I thought you set me up. They had your back the second time. One more. Okay, who is it? A-OK, I said that one. ALM. There we go. Listen, I love y'all. Thank you. Sometimes you got to cheer for yourself, girl. Stand up and let them know I am awake. Listen, I have loved getting to know y'all, getting to hear your stories, getting to hear you rep your territories. Yesterday, I got a chance to sit with a group of guys in discussion group after session and hearing the transparency. Where those guys at? Make some noise. Where y'all at? You'll never know the impact you made. I literally wrote about y'all all afternoon, all evening, and some of the stuff that I really feel like I'm still pulling apart in some of the awesome conversations you have. I told them at the end of it, I said, listen, I told my friends before I got here that I get a chance to walk with the Salvation Army. This is my first time getting a chance to walk alongside y'all. And I said, I'm not sure what they're like there. I'm not sure what it's like, but I said, I would just look forward to seeing what the world is like. And I can say, after hearing your conversations, but after sitting in your groups and seeing your boldness and your hearts, there is truly nothing like the Salvation Army. And I can't wait to tell everyone, no matter where I go, you need to hear about what's happening at the Army over there at the Salvation. They are moving mountains. They are climbing mountains. They are charging towards the Lord. Thank y'all from the bottom of my heart. It has been awesome. But I'll tell you this, as I listened to their stories, I was more inspired to share my story. Yeah, there was a way that I was going to tell this sermon, but I said, you know what if I just wiped it clean? What if I just said, I'm going to give you my truest self? Because, yeah, I can allude to my story, but what would it be like for me to be fully vulnerable with you? What would it be like if I just said, okay, so this is me. This is me saying, after hearing each one of your stories and realizing that there are many stories in this room that are very, very similar to mine. What if I just laid my story out there and said, hey, each one of us is based on a true story. And that story does not mean that defines us as to who we will be and who we are, but it is something that we have to say, this is my story. And for far too long, so many people try to tuck their stories away. For far too long in my life, I tried to tuck my story away because I just didn't want anyone to be included. I had a job in Georgia, and it was right up there on the north side, and I had a boss named Clay. And so Clay came up to me, and at this point in my life, before I'd done that, I was actually scouting for small group leaders in the area to work with high school students in our ministry before I was then moved into the high school pastor job. And so I did that for many, many years. While I was doing that, Clay came in my office one day, and I said, he's the pastor of the church, so he's like, hey, I want to have a meeting with you. And I said, absolutely, get lunch. And I said, well, today's a really, really busy day. You know what it's like. If people who work in the church are like, hey, it's a busy day. This isn't the best day. Why don't we put it on the calendar for later? He said, I want to meet with you today. I said, yes, sir. I'll absolutely be there. And I was like, where would you like to meet? He was like, we want to meet Subway. I said, okay, Subway's not really where I rock, but I was like, cool, it's you the boss, so I guess I'll go ahead and get me a little tuna or something. And so here we are, and we get to Subway, and we're ordering, and I ended up saying, I don't want to do tuna, I do the meatball. I don't know why I'm including that, but I just feel like y'all need to know what I will order when I go to Subway, just because we ever hang out at Subway. Y'all see me, you know, get them the meatball. And so I get the meatball, we sit down, and he asked me the question that I oftentimes would ask small group leaders. He would say, hey, Joe, can you share your story with me? And I immediately did, time out. I'm not trying to get deep, because we all know what it's like at the lunch table. Nobody's really trying to bear their whole story at lunch. Y'all know what I'm saying? Have you ever just sat at a lunch table and just said, hey, y'all, I don't think I've ever shared my life story with y'all? No one would say that at a lunch table, right? You only got like 20 minutes together. You don't want to be that guy. But he says, I want you to share your story with me. I said, I'm not sure if I want to do that. He says, no, really, I want to hear your story. So you know you give him like the edited version, the quick version of just like, oh, yeah, I grew up in Akron, blah, 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 this and that. And he says, no, I feel like you're really cutting corners. I want to really take this time and hear your story. And I start opening up and sharing more and more, but then emotions start welling up because we had dove into places that I hadn't been in a while. And then suddenly I start feeling the tears start welling up, and I'm like, what in the world is happening? We're really about to do this. And then I start crying, and then he sees me start crying, and then he starts crying. Now we're both crying over our meatball subs and Subway, and everybody's looking at us saying, what in the world is happening in that back corner? And we're looking at each other and then looking at them saying, we're Christians, and Christians are transparent. And I remember at the end of my story, he looks at me and he says, why haven't you shared that with anybody else? And I look right back at him and I said, because I didn't want everybody in my business. It's as simple as that. And he says, but Joseph, I don't think that you should be hiding who you are. And I remember those words echoed in my head for the rest of the day. And as I got home that night, and I journal at the end of every single night, I remember I journaled it, and then God began to whisper truth to me from what he had told me earlier in the day. And I remember I wrote this quote that began to define my life. And I said that a story that's untold never has the chance to help anyone. And I don't know if you've been tucking your story away. I don't know if you've been hiding. I don't know if you've been ashamed of it. I don't know if you don't think that it's good enough. I don't know if you don't think it's as action-packed as the movies. But the reality is this: each one of us is based on a true story. Maybe it's beautiful, maybe it's perfect, maybe it's imperfect, like most of us. But the reality is this: a story that's never told never has the chance to help one person. So this is me saying, okay, I'll carve out time this morning to say, this is my story. And I hope as you listen, you say, there's moments in this story that I can relate to. There's moments in his story that I can say, that happened to me. There's moments where I realize, oh my gosh, I was that character in his story. Maybe not him, but I was a character in his story. But what I hope is that as you listen to my story, you begin to say, is there ways that I can tell my story? When I bump into somebody, have I been as transparent as I need to be to say, hey, this is my whole story. This is exactly where I came from and what God is continuing to do through me. So I was born in this place called Akron, Ohio. Is there anybody from Ohio? Make some noise. O-H. I-O, there we go. It was a little delayed. I wish we could have been a little tighter. It's okay. I was born in this place called Akron, Ohio. Now, Akron, Ohio was really, really great way back in the day. It was the rubber capital of the world. However, all those factories closed before I hit the scene, so all we had left by the time I came around was LeBron James, who came along a little after me. And so I remember thinking, okay, at least we got LeBron. Then LeBron left us and went to Miami. That was a really difficult time. But then LeBron James came back, and we all know what happened when he came back to Ohio. He gave us our first championship. Make some noise for us. Okay, I didn't think so. All right. No one ever does. No one ever makes any noise for what LeBron James has done. He's not a traitor. He's following his dreams. There's a difference. So it was there in Akron, Ohio that I was born and raised. Not really a really action-packed town, a really, really small town. A lot of mischievous acts happen there because it's really, really close to Cleveland. But I was born to a single mom and three incredibly handsome young men: John, my oldest brother, myself, Joseph, and Justin. John, Joseph, Justin. My mom liked Jay. She said if she had a girl, she would have named her Jennifer. I said, okay, cool, that's awesome. And so my mom and my dad divorced when we were just babies in the womb, and they were going through life, and I guess they just didn't quite work out, so then they went their separate ways, and it was all the way up until about the second grade. My dad was seeing us every other weekend, but he remarried around that time, and he began to really focus on his new family, and I remember he kind of just faded away. He faded away and never really told us that he was fading away. So here we were going into third grade. It was right around towards the mid-second grade. He's kind of disappeared, and I'm filled with anger. We're all filled with anger, and I remember we would always be like, what kind of dad leaves his sons? What kind of dad just isn't there for us in our crucial years as we're becoming grown men? What kind of dad isn't there to help us be able to help our mom? I mean, we're second grade, but we thought we had our lives together. But we said, what kind of dad isn't there? And I remember our mom would walk in, and one day she heard us talking, and she said, listen, I know you don't understand why your dad made the decision he made, and maybe I don't either, but that is your father, and don't you ever let me catch you talking about him like that again. We did, yes, ma'am. You know what that's like? My mom was the first woman of God that I saw in my life, a standard that I still say to this day is a standard of excellence, that I strive to be just like her. Even though she would say, you make me so proud, I said, no, Mom, you made me proud first. Now, we were born in the part of town that many people oftentimes refer to as the ghetto. And the thing about the ghetto, is it's filled of many distractions and many barriers that kind of stand in the way of you finding your full potential and your full excellence. And so I remember my mom was realizing that we needed to go to a better school. Now, I thought the school had everything it needed because it had all my friends. And so my mom began to look at this new school called Schumacher that was being built down the street. And I remember thinking, I'm not sure if Schumacher is for us, but I had heard rumors that they had these brand new orange lockers. Now, to me, this was a big deal. I mean, orange lockers, we didn't have orange lockers. We had these faded, ugly, scratched up lockers at the place I went. And I said, no, we got to get to Schumacher so that I can put my book bag in this brand new locker. My mom gets a chance to tour Schumacher, and I said, now, Mom, tell me no. Let me know if the lockers are as good as they are. So my mom said, definitely, I'll do that, Joseph, thanks. And so she goes to the school, she comes back, and she's walking with everyone. She comes back, and I'll never forget it. She comes and she says, John, Joseph, just the living room. I said, okay. We sit down, and I'm thinking, this is the moment. We made it in. She says, we're not going to Schumacher Elementary. I said, what? And she said, no, I walked it, and I just don't feel like it's a school for you. They couldn't answer any of my questions. Now, my mom was a teacher of over 30 years, so she believed in optimal learning environments. Once again, I thought optimal learning environments were where my friends were. My mom thought something different. I said, well, where are we going to go if we're not going to go to Schumacher? And she said, we got to save up money so that I can send you to the school that I want to send you to. I said, how are we going to save up money? And she said, for the next year, we're going to eat big pots of spaghetti for dinner, and we're going to eat honey butter sandwiches for lunch. Now, I don't know if you've ever had a honey butter sandwiches. You take a piece of white Wonder bread. Okay, I'm just be specific as to the brand. She got us white Wonder bread, and then we would smother margarine on it, and then she would just squirt some honey on it and slap another piece of bread on it, and we ate that for a full year. That's why when I go to Cracker Barrel to this day, and they bring out those biscuits of honey, I say, get the biscuits out my face. I'm never going back. I made it past that. Never got to go back. Big pots of honey butter sandwiches and big pots of spaghetti. We ate it for a year until she had saved up enough money. And I'll never forget when my mom pulled up to this brand new house on the other side of town, a place that we had never seen, never even heard of. And she hops out the car of this U-Haul, and she's literally running in and out of the house carrying these boxes. And I wish we could say we were helpful, but we weren't really helpful that day because we didn't know where we were. So there we were, John, Joseph, Justin, standing there holding our little boxes for our rooms. And she's running in so excited saying, look at the place, look at the place. And we're looking at the place saying, yeah, okay. We didn't know what to feel because we didn't know where we were at. And I wonder if she knew what was to come, if she would have been as excited as well. Because we had no clue the world that we were walking into. I can still tell you my first day in third grade. I can even tell you what I was wearing. It was a turquoise Michael Jordan t-shirt. It said Air Joseph on the back. I thought the shirt was so cool, people would want to be my friends. And here I am walking in this school with Justin on my right, John on my left. And I remember we walked in and we kind of opened the door. And I remember I stopped as soon as we walked in. I thought, wow, this school's definitely different than what I imagined. Definitely does not have orange lockers. But everything looks distinctly different. I remember walking, just feeling that insecurity of walking into a new school. I remember I thought, as long as I got my twin brother, Justin, everything's going to be okay. But my mama went ahead to the administration and said, hey, I want to make sure you separate Joseph and Justin from all their classes because I want to make sure that they can make their own friends and become their own people. And so she didn't tell us that, but she went ahead and separated us. That's my mom. I can't change her for nothing. So here we are. We get to the intersection of the hall. I remember looking at my paper, and I said, hey, Justin, we go this way. And Justin said, no, I go this way. And I said, no, the gold side is this way. He said, I know, but I'm blue. And just like that, Justin walked off in the distance. And I remember being like, oh. And I said, she would do this to me? My mom's sabotaging my life again. And I walk to my first period class, and I stand at the doorway, and I remember I get to it, and I just look in, and the whole class is basically sitting there. And I remember I look around, and I think, okay. Then I walk to the back of the room because typically my desk was in the back in alphabetical order, Sojourner, 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 Sojourner. And I remember I got to it, and I sat down. And I remember I just looked down at my desk because I was hoping that people would stop looking at me. I was hoping that nobody would notice me. You all know that feeling. I was hoping that I would just disappear. It was the first time in my life that I remember feeling different. We were the first blacks to integrate Monroe Elementary. Now, people oftentimes ask me, you were born during the civil rights? I said, does it look like I was born during the civil rights? No. My mom just so happened to find the first school that did not have blacks before us. That's my mom. I can't change her for nothing. Now, I had never seen that many white people in all my 8 years of existence. It was like walking into a REI. I remember thinking, oh my goodness, where in the world, where are we at? And I remember thinking, this is nothing like what I'm used to. I remember they talked about TV shows I had never heard before. They were listening to music that I had never heard before. There was style that I wasn't familiar with. I didn't really know how to grade it. I didn't really know anything about this culture. But as much as I thought I was different or they were different, I thought, well, maybe they don't notice how different I was. But then they would look at me and say, no, you are pretty different. You kind of walk with this strut and you call yourself Sojourner. What's up, everybody? And they said they didn't quite know how to view me, but I said, it's okay, I just got to keep my head low. And I kept my head low all of third grade, moving into fourth grade. But in fourth grade, things began to change. Because I went from being the quiet kid that nobody noticed to the kid that people did notice and felt like they could pick on. And before those innocent comments of you're different, well, those began to shift and those began to be much more sharp. Those comments turned into jabs. Those jabs turned into bullying. And I remember it would make me so furious. Because I was a skinny kid, I was extremely skinny with a very large head. I had to grow into this thing. And Justin was about triple my size. He still is triple my size. He's about 300-something pounds right now, 6'8". And so a lot of people would look at Justin and say, oh, that's your big brother. But Justin was not my big brother. I was older than Justin by 15 minutes. So if you said Justin was my big brother, it immediately filled me with rage because I said, he's not. I'm older than him. Anytime Justin and I would get in a fight, I would always remind him that I was 15 minutes wiser than he was. So anytime he would disagree with me, I was like, well, you're not going to understand what I'm saying until 15 more minutes, then come back and let me know what you think. He hated it. I still said it to him this past Christmas. He said, I hate when you say that. I said, I know, but you'll love it in 15 minutes. If you told me he was my bigger brother, I would get furious. Skinny kid, big head, bobbled when I got mad. I would say, who you think you talking to? I know you ain't talking to me. I'm a grown man. I can defend myself. And I was like, anyone that tests me, anyone that thinks that I'm any less than, I will prove to you just how man I am. But my mom had made me promise that I would not get in a fight. She said, it took every single thing to get you to that school. You will make a promise to me, Joseph, that you will not fight anybody. And I made that promise to my mom, and I kept that promise to my mom all the way to the 5th grade. There it was. We just got done working on our projects, and the teacher stands in front of the class, and she says, tomorrow is presentation day. And I said, no, there's no way I can stand in front of this class and give a presentation. She must not know me. I remember I let all the kids walk out, and I stayed after, and I talked to her. I said, hey, listen, I don't know if you know who I am. My name is Joseph Sojourner, and I wrote that paper, and I don't know if you read it yet, but there's no way I can stand in front of this class. I get bullied. I get picked on. If I stand here, I think something bad's going to happen. Can you just grade it, give me my A, and give it back to me? I really would appreciate that. And she said, Joseph, I did read your paper, but I think this class deserves to hear all the work that you put in, and I'm easily persuaded. And I said, well, I did work a lot. Thank you. I said, well, okay, well, I guess I can. She said, okay, tomorrow. I said, okay, I was a little faster. I think we were doing 2 days. I guess I got to go on the first day. I remember I left and I came back the next day. And I'm walking in the school, and you guys know, introverts in the room know what it feels like on presentation day when you're young. It's just like that feeling in your stomach, and you're like, And it's as if it's a tick. It's a countdown from the minute you enter. It's really a countdown from the night before. As you're setting your alarm, you're like, we are T-minus 10 hours and 14 seconds from when I stand in front of this class. And sure enough, it felt just like that. As I'm walking through the halls that entire day, I'm thinking we are just an hour or two away. Until finally I get in the room, and she calls my name, and I can still tell you. In fact, I can tell you what even happened before I went to the room. I remember before I got in the room, I went to the restroom, and the last stall was my little prayer stall. I don't know why it became that, but it was just like that in that school. It was my little moment of solitude. So I remember I shut the door, and I just stopped, and I said, God, it's about to go down. I said, I'm about to give this presentation, and I need you more than ever, God. I need them not to just like this presentation. I need them to love this presentation. I hope nothing goes wrong. I hope that they don't just love it. I hope they cheer for it. I hope they give me a standing ovation and maybe even throw roses. I don't know what they're going to do, but God, I'm expecting so much more and for you to move in a big, big way. Amen. And I walked out, and I'm standing in front of that class, and I'm holding my cardboard cutout of my menu because I was presenting a restaurant, Joe's Rib Shack. And I remember I was talking about the different menu items. And I was introducing fried pickles, which are normal now. I know no one's giving me oohs and ahs. But back then, way back then, it was brand new to the scene. Nobody even knew about fried pickles. So I was like, yo, this is about to shock the crowd. This might shock the world. I said, I want to tell you about these fried pickles with dip. And everybody's like, oh, wow. We start going through the other items of my menu. And sure enough, I get to the pizzas, and I'm talking about the pizzas when a hand shoots up in the back. Now, we all know when presentations are happening, nobody wants questions. Question! And I keep continuing. I try to ignore them. And I'm going through this pizza and this pizza. Question! I said, yes. Jerry was his name. Jerry, I'll never forget it. I said, yes, Jerry. And I'll never forget what Jerry asked, or what Jerry actually said to me, because it cut deeper than ever. He said, the toppings on your pizza, do they include chitlins and watermelon? And it wasn't the comment that made me furious. It was the fact that the entire class erupted with laughter. And I remember I was so full of rage and my head's bobbing now because I'm like, I can't believe I was disrespected like that, that I threw this cardboard cutout down and I jumped over the desk. And I remember grabbing Jerry, and just as I swung at him, he fell back over the desk. He fell back, so I didn't really connect. I didn't connect. Don't clap. I missed him. They swing. I did, and I didn't get him the way I wanted to get him, and he fell over the desk, and I remember everybody was trying to jump on me and pull off, but I was just trying to get my clean hit. I needed that clean hit to get my dignity back, but I couldn't get the clean hit, and sure enough, the teacher's beginning to grab my shirt, and I'm locked on him, and all I could see was red because he had disrespected me in front of everybody. Finally, she pulls me off, and she gets me in that hallway, and I'm just pacing back and forth, punching the lockers until we lock eyes, and I remember I looked at her, and I said, I told you that this would happen. Why didn't you make me do it? And then I just slid down at the lockers and just started to cry. As I'm listening to the class now cackling in the room just 100 feet away as they hear me yell in the hallway. And I will never forget what she said to me next, because she leaned down and got right on my level. And she said, Joseph. And I'm like, yeah. I was a very passionate kid. She said, how much longer are you going to let their words control you? I said, what? And she said, how much longer are you going to let their words control you? And then she just stood up and walked back in the room and left me right there on the ground in the hallway. Because I think she knew if you ask this kid the right question, he'll do the rest of his homework. And I remember her words bouncing around my head for the rest of that day, for the rest of that week, for the rest of the month. And I remember thinking, I can't let their words control me. And as I moved into the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and that bullying grew worse, and their name calling grew more and more severe, I remember walking down the hall as people would say things to me, and I would just keep my head down, and I would think, I don't know why they're saying it, but I will not let their words control me. And I remember they would end up launching these statements to me, and I'm thinking, no. Every single day before I left home, my mom would make me say this thing. Right when I would get to the door, I'd turn the deadbolt, she'd hear the deadbolt, and she would yell, hey. Whenever she yelled, hey, I had to make a declaration. I would say, hey, and I would say, I'm Christian first, Sojourner second. And she said, what? I said, I'm Christian first, Sojourner second. I hated when she would make me do that until about the 7th grade. Because I remember as they were yelling and launching these statements at me, I remember the moments I was walking down and just saying, I'm Christian first, Sojourner second, I'm Christian first, Sojourner second, I'm Christian first, Sojourner second, all the way to my class. But I remember sometimes when I look in the mirror, I would say, I'm Christian first, Sojourner second, but I just didn't feel it. I didn't know what I was looking at. I didn't know what I was looking at the reflection of, and I didn't know what made me so toxic and why so many people hated me. One kid tried to be my friend right around the 6th grade. His name was Billy. He tried to be my friend. He made it about 2 days. And I remember Billy was hanging out with me the first day. Everyone was looking at Billy, and everyone was like, why is Billy trying to be Joseph's friend? And sure enough, the second day I walked into class, I walked in and Billy didn't see me behind him. And as I walked in, Billy was saying some absolutely terrible things about me. And I know to this day, the only reason Billy was saying it is because they were pressuring Billy, and Billy was trying to fit in with his friends that he had before. And I remember stopping in the doorway, and he turns and he looks at me, and he just stares. And I could see that look in his eyes of, you don't understand, I didn't want to do this to you. And I remember just walking to my desk and sitting down, and I made the decision that day, I would never make anyone else like Billy, put anyone else through what I just put Billy through. I felt disqualified of anybody loving me. I felt like me adding myself to anyone else's life would destroy it. And I walked through all of my middle school years feeling that way, not even attempting to disrupt anyone's world, not wanting anyone to be uncomfortable, not wanting anyone to take a chance on me or even ask me my name. Entering into 9th grade, my first day, freshman year, I remember the basic metals teacher calls me to the front on the first day. He says, "Hey, is your name Joseph Sojourner?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Hey, we know about the bullying that happens to you. There's a lot of sharp equipment in this room. For your own safety, we need you to do all your projects outside, and that'll make sure that you're safe." I said, "Absolutely, sir." And the plan worked perfectly for about 2 or 3 weeks until a kid got sick and he had to go to the nurse's office. And the teacher walked into the nurse's office that day, which allowed 2 or 3 boys to walk outside. And I was painting this red box, and I was spray painting it red. And I remember they kicked it across into the grass. And I said, "Why are you doing this?" And sure enough, they jumped on me and they began beating me. And I remember thinking, I just can't win. What am I supposed to do in this school? Right around that time, I got a C on a French test, and I remember thinking, there's no way I'm permitted to get C's. My mom said A's and B's only, so I stopped and I looked at the teacher. I said, "Hey, listen, I got a C today. I can't bring a C home to mom. I got to do some extra credit, bonus, whatever it is." And I remember she pulled her glasses down and just looked at me as I gave my speech, and then as I finished, she said, "How am I supposed to teach you French when you can barely speak English?" And I remember just stopping and then apologizing and saying, "I'm sorry," and walking out of her class. And that was the day I quit. That was the day I quit caring. That was the day I quit thinking that somebody was going to come rescue me. That was the day I quit thinking that there was going to be a happy ending to my story. I just quit. And my mom saw that she was losing her boys. And she realized that she had to act quick, and so she set up a meeting with the principal. She said, "Listen, I'm telling them to turn the other cheek. I'm telling them to take the high road, but at this point, I'm watching them be destroyed. I just need your help." And the principal politely told her, "Ma'am, what did you think would happen when you placed them in this school? I can only do so much." My mom got home that day, and she went right to her room and shut her door. And I knew exactly what that meant. My mom never let us see her cry in front of us. And to this day, I've never seen my mom cry. She always wanted to be a pillar of strength so that we could always know and trust that she had it together. But I remember putting my ear to her door that night, and I remember hearing her sob in her pillow. Until finally she gathered herself, got it together, opened the door boldly, said, "Joseph, Justin, living room." We file in and we sit down, and she said, "I'm going to need to take you out of that school." I remember thinking, okay, where are we going to go? She said, "I'm not sure yet." Right around this time, older brother John says, "What about Firestone? There's a school called Firestone right down the road." Now, Firestone's 45 minutes away. It's typically on the news for sports and IB, International Baccalaureate programs. I remember thinking, there's no way we're going to make it to Firestone. It's literally all the way across town. It's the #1 school. And I remember getting mad at John for even dreaming. I said, "What are you doing still dreaming? Why do you think we have a shot of making it at a school like that?" And I remember my mom said, "Joe, calm down. At least let's give it a try." And I remember she filled out the applications and mailed them off. And I didn't even think anything of it till about a month or a month and a half later when we got home. And she said, "Hey, come to my room." And she was so excited that day. And I remember thinking, I forgot all about this. I hadn't thought anything about it. And she hit play on the answering machine. Yes, the answering machine. We had those back then. And she hit play on the answering machine, and it said, "Hey, congratulations, John, Joseph, and Justin have been accepted to Firestone High School. We can't wait to have them." And I remember standing thinking, what? Did something good just happen to us? Impossible. First day of 10th grade, walking into Firestone High School, I can still tell you, walk through the front door, same situation, Justin on my right, John on my left. I remember we stopped just like we did first day of Monroe, and I'm looking at whites, blacks, Hispanics, all chatting, chumming it up in the hallway, horse playing, and I remember I had never seen a scene like this in my life, and I remember feeling instantly uncomfortable. I was like, what in the world is this? I don't even know how to interpret this. And I remember putting my head down and doing the same thing I did in 3rd grade. I said, hopefully I could disappear as I walk through all this madness. And I remember walking through all this madness, getting to my first period class, finally finding it, walking to the very, very back. There was not names on the seats, but I had trained myself. Sojourner sits in the back. And so I sat in the second to last seat because somebody was already sitting in the last seat. And I sit down, and I hope that nobody noticed me. Just sit down, hoping to disappear. But there was a guy behind me. His name was Sean. Tap, tap, tap on my back. I said, yeah. "Yo, man, you got a pencil?" I said, "This is the test. He's testing me to see if I'm a sucker." I said, "I ain't got no pencil." Tap, tap, tap. I said, "Yeah. Come on, man, I know you got to have a pencil in that big book bag of yours." I said, "That was disrespect. He disrespected my book bag. I got to let him know now." And I raised my voice. I said, "I told you I ain't got a pencil." Elevate your voice by 2 levels. They'll oftentimes think you're crazy and leave you alone. It's just the rule of the streets. Tap, tap, tap. Man, come on, I just need a pencil for the day. I know you got to have one in there. And I did the only thing I knew to do, the only thing I had trained myself to do. I jumped up from my desk and I knocked all the books off his desk. I said, I told you I ain't got a pencil and don't touch me again. And I was kicked out of my first period class, first day of Firestone High School, sent to the principal's office, just like that, boom. And I still remember what she said to me. She said, Joseph. And I said, yeah. Yeah. And she said, I know your story. And I remember thinking, nah. And she said, I know your story. And I remember just silencing at that point because now I needed to know what she had to say. And she said, I want to give you another shot at school because the last place you went wasn't good. But I promise you this place is different if you just give us a try, give us a chance. And I remember thinking, you don't know what I walked through. You don't know what I've been through. I can't just trust you, lady. I don't even know you. And she said, can you do that for me? And I said, I don't know. And she said, well, it's two options. I could either put you in detention, suspend you, or I could forgive you and not even tell your parents if you take this deal. I said, I'll take the deal. I'll take the deal. I'll take the forgiveness. And she said, then you have to promise to give me a shot and giving us a shot. And I said, okay. And I remember my second day, walking into that same class, walking towards the back. Sean is looking at me with wide eyes like, how in the world did he make it back? And I said, I beat the system. I remember walking by this girl and she said, is that the boy that flipped out over the pencil? Oh, he's crazy. And I remember thinking, good. Now they think I'm crazy. Now no one's going to mess with me. We're now 6 years, no friends, no speaking, no one even knowing my name. The crazy part about walking through your youth that long without even attempting to make connections is you learn to listen really, really well. You listen to not just what people are saying, but the body language that people are doing just below the surface, the true intentions of people's words. You begin to realize, why is he saying that to her in this moment? Why is he saying it like that? Well, is she even paying attention to how he's looking or how she's looking as she's speaking to him? I began to really, really refine my art of listening, tools that I still use this day when I sit down in front of guys and girls and adults as they share their stories or choose to speak to me as well. So here we are now moving into 11th grade. I'm walking out of a class. No one knows my name, not speaking, now moving into 7 years, no one knowing my name. And I remember Justin was right about 6'7" right now. He's about 240 pounds. So the basketball team and the football team was trying to pursue him, but he was shy, just like me, so he wasn't going out for tryouts. And so they had sent 2 of the star athletes to his locker to kind of woo him to come to tryouts. And so I round this corner and I see Justin and 2 of the popular guys making jokes with each other, and they're making jokes with Justin, and Justin was just leaned over laughing. And I remember I just looked and said, I've never laughed in the hallway with anybody. And I was filled with this feeling of, I never got to experience anything like that. And I got home that night, and I remember sitting on my bed and saying, God, I want nothing more. I want nothing more than to have friends in the hallway that I can laugh with. Can you make that happen? And my lights blinked, and a bearded man in a robe lowered and sat at the edge of my bed. I'm lying, that did not happen. Some of y'all literally were like, he met Jesus. No, I did not meet Jesus. I woke up the next morning and I heard nothing again. Now I remember just being like, are you up there? Is anybody up there? It's as if nobody was hearing me here on earth or in heaven. And I'm just crying and nobody's hearing my cries. And I remember just feeling hopeless, but I said, you've got to do something. You can't throw in the towel. You've got to make a decision. And I made one decision that day. I said, maybe I can show people that I'm not the monster that they think I am, that I'm not as toxic as everybody feels that I am. I said, I'm just going to choose to smile. I was the quiet kid that always looked mad, and I'm going to choose to smile. And so I said, if somebody says a joke, I'm going to laugh really, really loud so the class notices that I'm laughing at the joke. If somebody says my name, I'm going to smile and say, yes, wait, nobody knew my name, so nobody would say my name. Okay, if somebody says somebody else's name that even sounds like mine, Josh, I'm going to smile and say, huh? Just so that they can see that I'm a really, really nice person. And I remember the plan went well for a few weeks, and then it kind of started to backfire because I had a large smile, and people began to say, what up, Kool-Aid? And I remember thinking at first that was a compliment, but realizing down the road that that really was not a compliment. It was them making fun of how big my smile was. But however, my plan worked, and 2 or 3 oddballs chose to be my friend by the end of 11th grade. 2 or 3 oddballs, which was more than I ever could ask for. And there I was walking back to my auntie's house before my mom would pick us up and drive us an hour back to where we lived. And I was walking back with my 2 friends that day, or 2 people I was hoping would remain my friends, I should say. And I remember one of them stopped and said, I'm going to run into this gas station. And I said, okay. And he ran in, and I said, I'll wait for you right out here. And he comes out with 2 greasy paper towels. And he hands me one. And I said, what is this? And he says, pizza. I said, for what? He said, for you. I said, why? He said, well, because I know you like pizza. I said, no, but why did you buy me the pizza? He said, look, Joe, if you don't want the pizza, give it back. But it wasn't just pizza. It was the first time somebody did anything kind for me my entire childhood. It was the first time someone thought of me when I wasn't standing beside them. And I remember just staring at it thinking, what in the world just happened? And he's looking at me like, take a bite out of the pizza. I travel around this beautiful globe, and I've had some of the best pizza this world has had to offer. And people always ask me, what's the best slice of pizza you have? And to be honest with you, this is not me lying. Every time that question is asked, I go back to that nasty, greasy gas station piece of pizza that I held that day that tasted like heaven. And I remember I got home that night, and I made my first covenant to God before I even understood how covenants worked. And I said, God, I know that these two friends are going to realize that I'm toxic and leave me eventually like everyone else. I know it. But if you just let them stick around for a little bit, I promise I'll be the best friend that they've ever seen. I promise that every single time they see me, they'll realize that they have a friend that they can trust, who listens to them, and who is truly, truly loving. If you just give me these friends for just a little bit longer. And to say that God answered that prayer moving into my senior year would be a massive understatement. It was as if my entire childhood, he'd covered me up with clouds, and all of a sudden he began to pull those clouds away and shine this light down on me, and people began to notice me for the first time, and everyone said, hey, there's this new kid, his name is Josh. My name wasn't Josh, it was Joseph, but it was close enough. And they said, Josh is really, really nice. He really will listen to your problems, and he'll really give you really, really great advice and wisdom. We don't know where he came from. He's brand new to the school, and I wasn't new to the school. I've been there for 3 years. But I was new with my voice. I was new with people finally noticing me. I remember the teachers began to say, there's something about you. I don't know why everyone's talking about you now, but we'd love for you to join our book club and lead Bookathon and really help people start reading. And I thought, I don't know if I need to jump into book club as soon as I gain some influence in this school. I think I could really ruin the momentum I have right here. But I was easily persuaded. And they said, no, I think you can do it. And I remember hitting the halls and talking to people about books. And they were like, what are you doing? And I'm like, but have you read this book? This book? And I'm talking to them about these books, and they begin saying, okay, and I begin to make these competitions about these books, and people start signing up, and people saying he has a voice. He has a voice, and he's able to begin leading people, but to me, it didn't make any sense because I was thinking, I'm just trying my best to make sure people like me. I just want to make sure that people can see that I want what's best for them. Right around that time, I joined theater, and I said, I hope that I can figure out how to talk. And my theater instructor was standing in front of the class one day, and he said, hey, I need all of you to share your dreams. And everybody was like, I want to do TV shows, I want to do film, I want to do Broadway. And it gets to me, I'm at the end of the line. And I said, I'm here because I need to learn how to talk. And I whispered it. And so everybody said, huh? And he looks down, he says, what? And I said, I'm here because I want to learn how to talk. 12th grade. And he looks at me and says, you want to learn how to talk? I said, yes. And he begins to focus on me and give me opportunities and say, I want to make sure that I give you that opportunity to conquer your greatest fear, standing on a stage in front of people. I said, oh no, I don't think I would be ready for that. I just want to be able to do little skits in class. And sure enough, as the first play goes around, he forces me to try out. I said, I don't want to try out. I want to do skits in class. I think, did you hear what I was saying? I don't think you're listening to me. He said, I want you to try out for Romeo and Juliet. I said, I definitely don't think Romeo and Juliet is where I need to make my debut. I want to do skits. And he forces me to try out. And I get cast as Mercutio. I remember thinking, okay, hold on. Because then he brought out these tights. And I remember I looked at the tights and I said, I don't think they're going to accept me in those tights right there. But I was easily persuaded. And I remember putting those tights on and going out. But I remember before we had our first night, he said, we're doing okay with sales. But I remember as I was hitting the halls trying to tell people about Romeo and Juliet, everyone was saying, we don't go to the plays. And I was like, okay. And I went back to him. I said, hey, Mr. Zimmerman, they're not coming to the plays. I don't understand why a lot of my friends don't feel like plays are really for them. And this is an art school. And I said, maybe if we did an African-American production somewhere along this line, people will start feeling like there's more of an investment. Maybe if we did like multicultural plays, any of that. I think all the people in the school will begin to do that. And I remember he said, listen, I'd be open to that. If you could ask them if they'd be interested in that, we would 100% go forward and look forward to doing that. I said, okay. And I remember I hit the walls again with my brand new voice. I hit the halls and I began to tell people, if you come to Romeo and Juliet, it's a declaration that we want to do different kinds of plays in the school that represent all the voices in the school. And sure enough, we sell out that first night. We ended up adding a second night. We sell out that second night. We added a third night. We sold out that third night. And to this day, Firestone High School does multicultural plays from a kid who just had a brand new voice of 1 month. And I wasn't stopping there. Because then I went to this last club towards the end of the year, and I remember they said it was called Black United Students. And so I sit in the back and I'm hearing all the angst and all the anxiety, but all the dreams, hopes, and aspirations. And I remember thinking, this is so good, all that's happening in this school. And I remember shooting my hand up at the end of the session and I said, hey, this is dope, this is great, but how come there are no white people here to hear some of these things so we can work on this together? And I remember the teacher in the front said, because it's called Black United Students. I said, that is true. The name would kind of weed the white people out. They probably wouldn't feel comfortable. And I said, but if we have hopes, dreams, and aspirations, as well as fears, anxieties, and things that are standing in our way, and they have hopes, dreams, and aspirations, as well as fears and anxieties that are standing in their way, maybe it's time for us to start working together. Maybe it's time for us to start dreaming about a new school. And I remember there are a few weirdos in the room that said, he got some legitimacy, but then there was a whole wave of people that thought, don't tamper with something that we've already built. And I remember the teacher saying, we've got elections coming up soon, and I remember, this is my opportunity. And I hit the halls and I began to cast this vision. I said, listen, we have a chance to change how we do Black United Students. Maybe we should take the Black off and just be called United Students and really begin moving in a way that dignifies and pushes every single group in this school forward. And people began to catch the vision. I said, but we need a president. And I found this girl. Her name was Laura. I said, Laura, I think that you could be the president of Black United Students. I think people respect you. I think people can see that there's a change coming. I think people can say, let's start with a very, very bold, radical move. She said, Joseph, I'm in. I want to do that. There's only one hang up. I'm white. I said, that is true. You are white. And this is going to be a mountain. We're going to climb that thing. I said, but I believe if you listen and you love, that people won't even notice that you're white. She said, really? I said, well, they may notice, but at least they'll love you. And she campaigned, and I helped her write a message. And election day comes, and I walk in that room, and it's chock full of Hispanics, Blacks, and whites. And as the teachers walk in and file in, I've now made my way to the very, very back against the wall because I was a little bit nervous in a room that was that big. And I remember they were just locked in, looking around. And then they said, we have the results. We want to present to you the president of Black United Students, or as you all renamed it, United Students, Laura. And the entire room begins to roar, and I'm watching all these people grab and hug each other and begin crying. And I remember Laura walks to the very, very front of the room, and then she looks at me standing on the back wall, not knowing what to do, and she walks all the way back, and she grabs me, and she just begins sobbing, and my hands are still by my side because I don't know what to do. First off, a girl's grabbing me, and I'm thinking, wow, this is a big moment for me, and I'm like, what in the world? And she's hugging me, and she's holding on to dear life, and she said, look at what we were able to do, and I don't even know what we had done. And I tell people to this day, when you walk through most of your youth just dreaming for people, that's all you're looking for. And it would take me years before I realized that maybe God put me on this planet simply to dream for people. That's what my story was for. That's why there was still hope in my lungs. That even in my darkest moments, I still believe that everyone at their core is good. If you give them a chance, if you give them an opportunity, if you help them figure it out. Not too long ago in Atlanta, I was at the place I love to do ministry at, Waffle House. And I was sitting at the bar, and I have all my waitresses. I know some of my waiters, and so Twy was serving me that day. And I said, Twy, what's up, Twy? I was like, you already know what I want? She said, all-star, blueberry waffle, eggs with cheese. I'm not even going through the whole order, but she got it right. And so, and I sit down, and there's this lady sitting beside me, a little further along in life, a white lady who looked a little bit disheveled. You know, at Waffle House, you really never know what you're going to get. Just be honest, real talk, right now we family. So I remember looking, and I did, I'm going to just go ahead and leave her alone. She looks like she's had a long night. And so I remember she's bringing her food out, and I thought, Joe, this is the church. You are the church. If you can't speak to this lady, then what in the world is wrong with you? And I remember I stopped and said, hey, I didn't catch your name. And she said, Ann. I said, oh, nice to meet you, Ann. She said, what's your name? I said, Joseph. I said, oh, awesome. Then I went back and I said, okay, God, I did my part. Now let me enjoy this waffle. And I start cutting my waffle. About 3 minutes past it, Ann looks at me and she says, Joseph, what do you do? I said, oh, okay, here we go. I said, well, I get a chance to work with churches a lot. She said, oh, churches. And for the next 5-10 minutes, Ann begins to unload on what she does not like about the church. She begins to say, oh, I can't stand church. Those are those fake people that think that they're perfect. Those are the people that say, no matter what you did, we did it better. Those are those people that look at you and judge you as soon as you walk in and make you feel like you're inferior. The worst place filled with the least love. I would never, ever walk in those doors again. Some of my worst experiences were with those Christian people. And I remember I just cut her off in the middle of her tangent. And I said, Ann, can I ask you a question? She said, yeah. I said, do you think every church is bad? And she said, well, no, not every church, just a lot of churches. I said, okay, I just want to make sure. And I go back to eating, and she said, now listen, I want to make sure you understand, I love Jesus. I tell my friends all the time, you need to go to church. I said, okay. And then as I'm sitting there, and we're kind of having this moment, she says something that rocks my world. She says in the middle of her tangent, and I'm a firm believer that the most called people in the church aren't even the ones that stand on stage. Whew. And I remember I put my fork down, and I said, what did you say? And she said, I'm a firm believer that the most called people in the church aren't even the ones who stand on stage. And I remember in this moment, I reached over and I grabbed her hand, and she looked at me, and I said, Ann, we need you at our church. And she said, what? I said, we need you at our church. And she said, why? I said, because we don't have your story at our doors. Right around that time, Twy comes up, and she says, girl, go to that boys' church. It's a really good church. I said, come on, double the tip, tag team. And I get up and I walk outside. Ann chooses to follow me out. And as I walk to my car going, she says, you know what, I'm going to go to this church because if they're anything like you, maybe this is a good one. And I looked at her in her eyes. And I said, Ann, if you saw the church that I see every single week, if you see what the church is really like, what we really do, how we really love, you'll realize it is nothing like you imagined and nothing like you experienced in your story. But because of your story, you fit right in at our church. She said, okay, I'm going to go. And then she walks to her car. As I'm getting in mine, she pulls forward and she lets her window down. She says, I don't know what made me tell you all that. I never tell anyone all that at a Waffle House. I want to think, I said, listen, I've shared my story at a Subway. And I looked at her and I said, I know exactly why. Because you ran into the church that made you comfortable enough to share your story and confident enough to tell me who you were. And I'm so grateful that I got to meet you. And as she drove off, and some of my friends told the stories of what happened when she got to our campus, and my heart was filled with wonder, filled with gratitude, filled with love. I oftentimes go back to that parking lot and think, but if she could just take a moment to hear my story, I would have told her. And I was the kid that used to sit in the back of a room who felt disqualified to ever have a voice. I was the kid who never, ever thought I'd be accepted, and then I found a church that began to empower me and teach me how to talk and say, hey, your voice has matter. You probably have the most to say. If you want to know why I'm at church, and it's not to be a preacher, it's because it saved my life way back in the day, and now I am always tempted to go, no matter where I go, I am focused on letting every single person know that this is a space that is the safest place on this planet, and that no matter what reputation we may have had in the past, that our generation has a chance to change it. That our generation has a chance to say, hey, no matter how messed up you are, no matter how many mistakes you made, no matter what you've been called, no matter what you might think about yourself, welcome. And I said, every Sunday, Ann, I get to stand in front of these wonderful people and say, hey, I don't know where you come from, I don't know your name, and I don't know your story. But welcome home. Welcome to the safest place on the planet. That is what we get to do. That is what you get to do. You get to do it at a Waffle House. You get to do it at a Subway. You get to do it in your cafeteria. You get to do it in your gathering places. We build walls and call it church. You get to do it in your families. You get to do it in your friends. Sometimes it'll feel unbearable. as they attack, as we talked about yesterday in our group after this. And they said, but what happens when we give love and they don't give love back? When I said, we keep going. I love what the instructor said. We don't have the right to withhold love in this world. And I love what a student said back to him. But we have the power to. And I said, now that's what's happening in the world today. You have the power to not give love. So what happens if you're the generation that says, and we're going to use that power to give it, while everyone else withholds it for their own selfish ambitions? Welcome to the safest place in the world. Do you know my problem? No. Do you know my story? I hope to. But I'd like to start with your name. Who are you? A luxury I was never afforded. But it's why every place I go to this day, I'll find the kid in every corner and say, hey, who are you? I got to hear your story. Because you're probably just like me. Hard beginnings make for beautiful endings. Hold on to it. Don't be ashamed of it. Don't tuck it away. Because it'll make you stronger than you ever thought. And one day you'll be able to do more than you ever could. Sometimes it's a conversation. Sometimes it's a journey. Sometimes it looks larger than life. But other times, it's as simple as a piece of pizza. That's our commission. Or as my new friend Eddie said yesterday in our group, let's be like Jesus and stop being like Christians. Whew. I think that's how I'm choosing to walk. Let me pray for y'all. God, it doesn't matter what the media says about us. It doesn't matter what mistakes we might have made in the past. We lock our eyes on you, and we remember these two filters. That every person we meet in this world is somebody that you made and somebody that you died for. And so, God, I pray that fire be ignited in every single one of these guys and girls' hearts. As they walk out these doors, they begin to realize that the reason I'm loved the way I'm loved is so that I might love others in a greater capacity than I ever could myself. And to the bullied, to the outcasts, to the ones who've been judged, to the ones who've been labeled, to the ones who felt like they weren't enough, to the ones who felt disqualified, devalued, and felt like their voice didn't have a place. God, I hope that they recognize that they are in the safest place on the planet to find exactly who they are so that they may walk into all that you have for them as well. We thank you for the privilege we get to sit in a room like this, to focus our eyes on you, and to say, how would you use me, my hands and my feet, so that I might walk out here better than I walked in? We thank you for all you're doing today. We thank you for the story you've crafted us, even if we don't understand what it's all about and how you'll use it in the future. Because we know each one of us is based on a true story. A story untold never has a chance to help anyone. Thanks for sharing your story with us that we look forward to sharing with the world. And it's in your precious Son, Jesus' name, that we all say together as a family, amen. I love y'all.
Do me a favor and stand right where you are. The band's going to play Blessed Assurance. This is my story. This is my song. This is an anthem. I get a different perspective standing in the back, and I know that there's some people here who are in the middle of their story. There's some people here that haven't opened the book yet. And there's some people here that are, having read the book, just waiting to help you discover what your story could be if you will just surrender. We're going to simmer for this song. If there's something in your life that's just holding you back, if there's something that you feel you need to break through, break off, cut free, this is the time. Don't fool around. This is the time. You got people here that want to help you. Let's sing, respond, and then we will move. Band.
This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. This is our story, and this is our song. This is us. This is us. This is my story.
This is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. This is our story, this is our song, this is us, this is us. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. This is our story, this is our song, this is us, this is us. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. This is our story, this is our song, this is us, this is us. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. This is our story, this is our song, this is us, this is us. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. This is our story, this is our song, this is us, this is us.
Come on. This
This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. This is our story, this is our song, this is us.
y'all say it. Come on.
This is us.
This is the story.
This is my story,
Yeah.
this is my song,
Praising my Savior all the day long.
this is our story, this is our song, this is us.
Say it. Come
This
on.
is us.
Say it right here again.
My story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. This is our story, this is our song, this is us, this is praising my Savior all the day long. This is our story, this is our song, this is the story. Oh, you can get through it if you believe in God.
There are people that are unpacking their story just now. There are people that are unpacking their story even now. And there are people that are just basking in what's happened this morning and the scripture that's been shared, the promise that's been revealed to you. I'm just going to ask that if you're not part of that, if you're not part of that unpacking, I'm going to encourage you to just enjoy the sunshine and get on with your day. But those that are responding, if you know someone here, if you see someone here that's trying to get into that story and figure it out for themselves, come alongside them, pray for them. Pray for them. Carry these chains away. Carry these chains away. Carry these bags away. But be joyful. Blessed assurance. Blessed assurance. Jesus is mine. Jesus is yours. We're going to praise our Savior all the day long. But this just needs some time. This needs some time. This needs some time.
All is at rest.
I am my
Savior, am happy and blessed. I'm watching you wait. I'm looking above. I'm filled with His goodness. Lost in His love.
story, and this is our song. This is us. This is us. This is my story, and this is my song. Praising my Savior all the day long. This is our story, and this is our song. This is us.
Amen. Hallelujah. I think Sojo said, he mentioned the commission right at the end of your preach. The Great Commission. Go ye into all the world. Sometimes us Christians, we misrepresent who Jesus is. And we forget to tell our face, I'm guilty. Sometimes I'm not always joyful. I don't always smile. I find myself in the busyness of life, and I forget that there's people that are looking, and they're wondering, and they're watching, and they're waiting. They want to see how I'm going to respond, or how some situation will make me respond, or demand a response. What will it be? Well, if we say we love Jesus, the response should be loving. And I'll be the first to tell you that the hardest thing we ever have to do is tell you that this part of the day it doesn't stop here, but now we have to exercise our faith. Now we have to exercise our faith. We have to take what we're learning and put it into practice. So what I'm going to do is encourage you now to move on to whatever it is that is next on your schedule. The Youth Institute schedule, the Music Institute schedule. There's lots to do, lots to prepare as we get ready for the finale and the weekend. Lots to do today. If you're not here helping with these stories, you are dismissed. Everyone else, support these folks. Support these folks. Pray for them. Pray as you're walking. Pray as you feel led. But don't be afraid to tell your story. A story that's untold can do no good.